All right. Here with Becca. And if you want to help me with your last name so I don't mess it up, but
Truax.
Truax, okay.
Yeah.
I would have been right, but just figured I'd play it safe. Horse trainer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heard you've done some other stuff with like equine therapy type stuff or along those lines, or
Yeah. I messed around a little bit with the massage therapy.
Okay.
And I bought a Magna Wave, did a lot of that kind of work and kind of traveled around with that for a little while as I was learning the training side of things. Just kind of a side hustle to make some extra money too. And also, at the time, I was kind of looking for ways to help our show line kind of, keep them, feeling their best, while we were showing so hard. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, you want to go back to the beginning and how you got started in horses, or?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually didn't grow up with horses. I was around them a lot. Like when I was with family, things like that. Or, I wanted to get around them as much as I could. But I didn't do a ton of riding. And I kind of worked through high school. Didn't really have any opportunities. I grew up in town, so I worked, did school. I actually got married young, so I got married at 18. Was married a couple years. That was kind of falling apart, and I was kind of looking for something. I was like, I knew I was really trying to find something horse related. So I was like, there's got to be something out there I can do to kind of, pass the time or whatever, Didn't know any specific discipline, nothing. Just bottom of the totem pole with horses. So I was looking online for something, and actually Andrew had posted that he was looking for someone to, Andrew Nave with Nave Cowhorses was looking for someone to clean stalls and feed horses, and I thought that was really cool. I'd really like to get around horses. That looks like a really good idea. I called my brother about it. He's always been my mentor with things, and I was like, I found this opportunity. I'd really like to try it out and see if I like it. I don't know anything about cow horses. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sure. He goes, that sounds like a great idea. So I tried it out. Like I said, I was in the middle of a separation at the time and stuff like that. So I really kind of tucked my head, and man, it was an interesting learning curve. There's lots of things I didn't realize, what had to be done. Like performance horses is a whole new level of horse care and management, and I really didn't know anything about it whatsoever. To just be honest, nothing. So I learned the hard way with a lot of things, just how to be around horses, how to groom them, how to take care of them. And then, he had these shows. I remember our first show was Congress of all places. I was like, I'm excited, but I have no idea what this means. So luckily at the time, he had a really great client that really helped me along. Several of them did. They taught me a lot about the care part of things. And so it was Dana Frymore. She was awesome. She just kind of took me under her wing, and just showed me things like, hey, this is really how you should do this. And, you need to stop doing that, or, just everything, all the details. And then there's another lady, Tony, I didn't even know how to wrap legs, taught me how to wrap legs. And I was pretty determined. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I love it. I don't know anything about it, but I want to go somewhere with this. This is really neat. And I just kind of, I don't know, something about it. I felt like it's a challenge that I have never experienced before. Because I've worked since I was 12 years old with my mom. We had our own business. So it just, it was just totally different for me. And it was something I was passionate about, horses. I didn't know anything about them, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
So, and when was that? I think 2019, 2020 I started. Something like that. It's been about 6 years.
It was probably 2019.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it was that fall that Congress was our first show, so I was only with him for about 2 months, something like that, not long. But anyway, so it was a long journey. I mean, went from going to that show, learned a lot, and then I just really started getting in the groove of like, okay, how can I started making lists. I started just hunting for information all over. I was on YouTube all the time. I had a single momming it for a while too, you know. We were separated and he was back and forth, so it's kind of tough trying to juggle a 2-year-old and work here and my other job and yeah, so like any chance like I would spend time on the internet looking up how to do things. I mean, heck, when I first started, I remember like I was so worried about him or my boss like saying something about the fact that I didn't even know how to tie a rope halter, you know. It was down to that. I was like Googling everything. Like, I was like, I can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just started learning stuff. I started kind of memorizing it. I'd write stuff down a lot. Throughout the couple years there while we were, you know, I was going to shows, learning about how the cow horse industry kind of was while trying to ride and learn kind of the ins and outs of stuff. I realized taking notes and just kind of imprinting that on me like really helped. And then I, you know, as I was working for him, I trying to get the side hustle. I didn't make a lot of money. I started out $150 a week. And I was just like, I just love this. Like, I don't care. And I worked my butt off for a long time. Yeah, so I only made that much, but still I was just like, I was really kind of, you know, I was kind of working my way to barn manager. And I seen a need, especially like we had a couple really great clients who hauled for the world. And they were working hard, and that horse was working hard. Well, several of them were, but there was a couple mainly, and, you know, we were just doing our best to make that horse feel great all the time, you know, because he was busting his butt. So we were just trying to find new ways to take good care of him, you know, make him happy, make things easier. So I started looking into the therapy stuff. I was about a year in then at that point, and I bought the Magna Wave and started using that. And I did outside horses, and I even got some horses in on therapy for that. And that really, I learned a lot from that. I also got to work the horse that I therapied and got better. I saved the client a lot of money. I was excited about that because I was starting to get kind of a feel and an eye for things on that aspect, you know, just seeing where a horse was really kind of hurting her out or when they needed chiro. You know, we had so many horses in and out, like it just
that was the first horse that you had trained too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's right, because she sent it there for therapy, and then she's like, if you want, can you go ahead and work him? It was barrel horse. I didn't care. I was excited.
She's out there winning on this horse. She's doing very well.
Yeah, she is doing really good on him, and he's not acted up since. Like he was. The problem the horse that actually came in on is he was bucking and all this, and really, we did some therapy on it, and it was great. But we kind of figured out early in the game that the horse was like, it just didn't know how to lope, nothing like that. Like, and the girl had started the horse herself, and you know, whatever. But we figured that stuff out. We were able to, you know, help her move on and go. And it's not like it took 6 months, you know. So that was really cool. Like we were able to, you know, execute what was going on and kind of get her on her way. So I love that part of it. I loved like, you know, the therapy was kind of a stepping stone. I'll be honest, it just never was really where my heart was, but it's more of like, I knew I wanted to do more for these horses. And I really enjoyed helping them. So, that was cool. But the training was kind of inside me growing because that, you know, I had to watch him every day, and I was turning back, and I'm like, you know, I couldn't figure this stuff out. It was really frustrating, but, you know, I don't know. It just kept kind of stewing and growing inside me there, and kind of a little fire starting, and I just started kind of seeing things and getting a feel for things, and that I never really noticed before. I was really picking it up, and so I mean that's kind of how that went, at what got it going anyway. So just spending time in the arena, watching, constantly writing stuff down. And I'd have to say, I think, was it the second year I was there working for you? That's when I broke my back. I had 6 weeks off.
I don't know the timeline.
Yeah, it might have been the second year. So, I was learning whatever, thought I was kind of getting on my way, and then I broke my back. I was in bed for a while, and that really sucked. But then when I could kind of just get up and sit, I'd go to the arena and watch them work.
She actually came back early. I told her I wasn't going to let her get on a horse until she had a doctor's note, and she found some quack doctor to give her a note way before she probably should have.
Yeah.
She was determined.
I found someone to just come sign a note. I was like, shoot, I remember I got a family doctor here. I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to get in trouble. But she did. She just signed that thing and let me go. I was like, great.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. So where'd that bug start? Because it sounds like once you started kind of getting into it, you were just ate up with it. Do you know where that bug totally started?
I don't. Yeah. Well, I don't know, because obviously I couldn't ride or anything, and I was trying to work on all these things as I was working for Andrew. I don't know. We started the Congress deal. I just didn't really know. It was whatever. It was just a horse show, and I didn't know anything about it. It was really cool, but I didn't know that I liked cow horse stuff then. Even I didn't know what was going on. So I'd have to say, I think it was probably Florida when we went out to Casey Moore's. He left us come out there and work. Is after Christmas. There's a Florida circuit out there, and we went out after Christmas, and something about it and the way they were working, and his kids were working with him, and I was like, dang, this is really neat. And I think that was where I was kind of I loved how Casey was, I forget, I don't even know what horse he was working, but he had these shocker cattle he was working on, and there's something about it, and I was just like, man, there's a lot to this. There's a lot of fine tuning. This isn't just going out there, sitting there and park in front of a cow, and there's a lot more to it. These guys are behind the scenes, fine tuning every step, and every day there's a step that you got to take, or when you get ready for a show, there's there's just a certain way these guys individually will get their horses ready, because they get to know them like the back of their hand, and I really loved that aspect of it. These older, the show horses, or even the ones that are getting ready for the futurity, just seeing that, and seeing these guys dialing in, and that mental, it's wild to me. It still is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really kind of where it started, and I think I was about a year in then. But yeah, I think just when we started getting out and traveling, and that was a great thing. Andrew was adamant, man. Everywhere, anytime we'd go to shows and we'd talk to someone, they'd be like, yeah, come on out. I mean, he took that opportunity, and you go, and that really helped me myself with my business, because it's helped me to be more. It's not so much hey, you got to go take that person's advice the right or wrong way to do anything or whatever, but networking is super huge. The second thing is you really can learn a lot from going and working with other people, especially coming up in this. But it really does pay to have good friends, and now we have a lot of really great friends, a lot of trainers. I know I have both hands I can count on trainers I could call up if I had a question about anything, So I love that, and I think that really helped me as far as that goes.
I think one of the things that helped Becca along the most was her work ethic. She had multiple times asked me, why did you hire me? I don't know nothing. I didn't know anything. I couldn't ride. I couldn't do, I was basically, I didn't know anything.
I did almost get fired, by the way.
Several times.
I didn't know how to clean a stall the first 2 weeks. It was bad. And I couldn't ride.
But her work ethic, and I told her, I'm I can't teach you work ethic, but I can teach you everything else. As long as you have that work ethic, everything else we can work on.
Yeah.
And that was the thing about her. Like, she just worked, and if she didn't know how to do something, she was going to do everything she could. And I was hard on her. Like, I was very hard on her. Like, bridles weren't hung up right. I'd take all the bridles and put them on the floor and say, hang them up again. Stalls weren't cleaned right. I'm like, all right, strip every stall until you learn how to clean them correctly. And, she didn't complain. She didn't, she's like, okay, this is the learning process. And it I don't know if it was the right way, but it worked. Like, I don't have anybody else as diligent working for me or ever have as what Becca was. She really paid attention to detail. She carried her notebook around. She worked her butt off. And if there was something she didn't know, she was going to do everything she could to figure it out. Yeah, and that was the big thing to me was her work ethic.
Yeah, I've gathered that just from when we talked before too, but and so far it sounds like it's that common theme I've heard pretty much every podcast of having a work ethic, like being willing to put your head down, grind through stuff, even if it's not the glamorous jobs. Like, do it like it's the most important job you ever had, and then you'll slowly get bigger and bigger chunks that you can do, or opportunities given to you, and the networking side and the importance of that. Just building connections with other people and being able to reach out and ask questions and keep growing your knowledge on stuff. But so at what point did you start like your own training business?
Sure. So I started that, I think it was what's this, 25 May of 2023. Went out, I let go of my non-pro card the start of 22, and because I was taking a couple horses in for Andrew every once in a while. Not a lot. I mean, I just had a couple though that I had taken in and worked, and so I was getting paid for stuff. So I went ahead and dropped that, and then I went out in May of 2023. I think that's what it was. I don't know, early spring something. Yeah, and that was interesting. It was really a great experience going out completely on my own. It was kind of wild. I wasn't really sure what kind of direction to kind of go with it. I had moved a total of 6 times that year, just trying to find something that would suffice what I needed. I moved a couple places in Pennsylvania. Then I moved down to West Virginia, and in that area there was just nothing, no indoors, no nothing for me to work out of. So my brother actually, he has it's Hitch T Ranch up in Bedford, and he was like, hey, I got a spot, you can throw some stalls up, you can pay X amount or work for me, and we can work some stuff out. And that worked awesome. I got my first couple horses in training on that. It started out pretty good. I started by just doing what my gut was telling me, and that was to, like, all right, let's so what do we need to do? We need to do some traveling. We need to get out more and expose myself more, and talk to people, let them know that I'm out here training and that I can help them with their horses. And so I started by going to some sortings, some local ones. There's lots of places where people are having a heck of a time, but they're struggling with their horses with certain things, like in the gate, why is it blowing up, or hey, can you show me this or that? And I got a lot of people like that, and through going to them sortings and showing up and talking, I had people come to me and be like, hey, could you take my horse and do this with it? Like it's got this issue or that issue. I'd be like, heck yeah, I'd do that. And a lot of them knew of me, but I never really got out much because I was up here. I was really busy full time up here with the cutting and everything, so I never really got to that stuff very much. And honestly, sorting wasn't my main thing. I thought it was fun, but just didn't do a whole lot of it. But anyway, yeah. So I started getting a barn that way. Like I said, makeshift stalls for a while, just panels. But I'd drive an hour every day from my house in Berkeley Springs up to that Bedford place, and I'd work for my brother full time, weed whacking and mowing for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then I'd work horses at night. then go home and do it all again the next day. But yeah, I spent the weekends going to those. Then I was growing a little bit, kind of outgrowing his place. Then and that was a couple months down the road. I started talking to some people, and here I started. I forget how the conversation started, but it was Laramie Clark with Clark Farm Quarter Horses. They didn't really have anybody in there indoor. They have a breeding program that they offer, and it's a really neat one for the ranch horses and everything, and really great family, really nice. Laramie's like, why don't you come down here? I was like, for real? She's like, yeah. She goes, we don't use these stalls all summer. She goes, why don't you use them and bring your training program? She goes, help us with our colts, and you can bring your training horses here. I was like, all right. So I did, and they've got a really nice facility down there. Just super open arm people. Like that arena, like they let me set it up the way I needed, and just really extended a hand out to me. Like it was really great. So I really got to know some great contacts through that. I had a clinic down there, and so I got clients for the following year through that because they had young stuff that they wanted to get started up and going. So that was really cool. So that was a great network. So I helped Laramie there for several months, and I also got to go to my first cut and show on my own out in New York. Did really well there. Was excited about that. I took this horse, which rewind a couple steps. I had bought the horse as a quote unquote blown up sorter. Got him, and he really took to the cutting pen. So I showed him a little bit back when I was working for Andrew. Sold him to a guy to sort on. Well, then the guy, he's just like, yeah, if you want to take him and show him again, that's fine with me. I was like, all right. I was like, I'll cover the entry fees, anything. Like I did anything I could to just get in the pen.
Yeah.
I like sorting, but it's not really my main thing. So I got him back, and I had some really great help at the still do, but Hunter, a really good friend, Andrew's assistant trainer, he had all kinds of bits and tack, and I'd be like, hey, can I use this and all that? And he was just awesome. He'd bring me whatever I wanted. I'd be like, can I use this? Because I didn't have an arsenal like a lot of these guys did. I just was like, this horse feels like he needs this, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go show this horse, but I know the bit I need to show this horse. And he's like, okay. I was like, can you get that for me? He's like, yeah. All right. So I get this bit. I worked this horse in this bit a couple times. Like, oh man, this is great. Like he feels awesome. So I, just had to pull on him a couple times, make him correct. And I had 2 weeks with him, and I went out to this show in New York, showed him in the open, I think it was, in the 20,000 class. And we took first and second, whichever one, both days. Like I can't remember. I think I got 2 firsts and 2 seconds or something like that. So anyway, we got a check to leave. So I was pretty excited because, I had this sorting horse that really wasn't supposed to go win, only having him 2 weeks. And we were going against horses that had several thousand in earnings, So I was excited about that. So I did get out and show. But, as those months progressed, like I was working with them young horses, and then going and showing like that, I was able to build up my clientele. So that was pretty cool. It was a steady growth. Like I had like 3 and 4 horses for a couple months when I first started out. Then I got to 5 and 6, and I stayed at like 5 or 6 for a good. No, I think I got to 7 horses, there at my first year, and then now I'm at 12 and possibly pushing 15. So I'm pretty excited about that. Like it's steadily grown. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's been a huge learning curve. Going out on my own, like I just learned a lot. I also, I did get to do that. I went out and spent some time with Dusty Whitford. He's a 2-year-old specialist, and so I got to spend some time out there and got to learn some really neat things. And just I was able to go work with some other people like, Pedro Rojas and stuff like that. And like I said, like I was just able to call these guys up to help me with these horses all the time. Like it was great. I spent the entire summer calling people.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I even had a non-pro guy. He started a lot of his horses and I'd call him and bug him to death. Like, I'm sure he was like, bro, you're not even my kid. Like, what the heck? But I did. I just had lots of questions.
Yeah.
Because, when I was here helping Andrew, I really didn't start many horses. I think I helped him start like 1 or 2. He actually hired a colt starter when I was helping him because, I go to the shows and everything. But this 2-year-old girl that he had hired.
You helped me with Pinky. You helped me with Rooster. You helped me with a couple of
Okay, so those 2, though. Yeah, and then I finished out some.
Bear, the one that you got.
Yeah, the one that
Walked off of.
flattened me out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so like the young stuff though, I really wasn't familiar with. So I really didn't get a hand of that until I went out on my own. It was at Clark Farms, and well, we got to figure out how to get this done. So
started developing feel.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing too. Like zipping through trying to learn how to ride and everything. Then I started to get more of a feel as time went on. But yeah, that's kind of how it went. So, in that time, oh yeah, when I first started at Clark's, first day, there, I get on this 3-year-old. I thought had been ridden, wasn't. Broke my finger. Dumb. Like took me in panels. Like it was a hot mess. Anyway, like that's how I learned things. Like I beat my whole body up before I could figure something out. So, but yeah. Did I leave anything out of there?
Does that bring it pretty much up to speed on what you're doing now, or?
Well, no. So there, I guess I was at Clark's until January of last 2024, and then I came back up and started working with Andrew again. So I've been working. I worked up there by myself at the indoor we lease. I worked my crew there for several months, and then I came back here and started working alongside Andrew in the spring. We've been doing that ever since, and it's been working out great. I'd have to say that's probably the next thing that's been really exciting. We've been doing things together now, and a lot of people like there's you don't mix business and relationships and stuff like that, and but for me it's been really, really great. Like I appreciated after leaving having Andrew as a mentor, as a someone I can ask about everything. He was the one, which a lot of people don't know, but like a lot of the stuff, when I was trying to learn how to ride stuff, I'd be like, listen, this is what I'm having problems with. Like, what do I do here? And like he did, like that's, he was really hard on me, but he was the only person that sat there and invested time in me. And, that says a lot because like these guys don't have to. And a lot of the time they don't want to. I don't blame them because, a lot of people are just kind of, just kind of wasting your time. You just blow smoke up your butt, or they really don't want to know. They really don't want to learn. I think a lot of people have this thing, like if it just doesn't come or they don't feel into it, like it just, doesn't.
I think that goes back to your work ethic, like I seen that she wanted it and how bad she wanted it, and I always explained it to her as, it's like a horse, I'm not going to give this horse all the information it needs on day one. Like I'm going to give it little bits, and when they get that, then we'll move on to the next thing, and we'll move on to the next thing. So, I mean, it took some time, but she just kept going, she kept working, she kept trying, and that's why I feel like I invested that time because, I could see, she might not be the most athletic, which she's very athletic, but like if you look at it in horse terms, like, we want, I think Buster Welsh had said it, I would rather have I will than I can. And I've had very many people come through my program like that. Like they have all the talent in the world, but they don't have that work ethic, and I have horses like that, like this horse could be the best horse that we've ever had, but it just doesn't want to do it. Like it's just going through the motions, where she wasn't, she didn't have that natural feel. She didn't have that, but she wanted it so bad. And we can develop that. We can develop the feel as long as you have the drive. And that goes with horses, and it goes, with people as well. And I really think we have a good thing going with the crew that we got, because, Hunter's my assistant trainer and he's my 2-year-old guy, and Becca's, doing 2-year-olds and finished horses. And we all really work together, and we can help each other's businesses so much. Like if I have a horse that I'm having an issue with, that I think Becca's the person that needs this horse, then I'm like, hey, Becca, ride this horse for me for 2 weeks. Or if Becca has a horse that she's having problems with, she'll be like, hey, Andrew, can you stay after and help me with this horse? Just the other day, I spent some time out there with her with, one of her cutters, helping her get some that she's, had since day one that she's bringing along, and it's great to have, 2 other professionals there with having eyes on you and being able to help you, and she asked Hunter to help her, with, because Hunter's probably started more 2-year-olds than her, so when she runs into an issue, she can go to Hunter. When she runs into an issue with her cutters or a sorter, she can come to me. When I run into an issue like, hey, this horse just needs to kind of decompress and just needs to get soft again, hey, I can say, Becca, get on this horse for me and ride it for 2 weeks. Just be simple with it. And we all have our own strengths and our own talents, that it's a very good thing that we have going, that we can all kind of work together. And I'm very blessed to have such a great crew.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. Like, it's not often that you can get so many people in one place to, work together. That is true. Like, I love that. And I think that's part of, like, going out on my own, back to that. There's a mental thing that you kind of go through, and I still go through it a lot. But you question. You're like, you came out here, you're passionate, you love it, this or that, but then you start getting those horses that really like make you check yourself. You're like, what the heck am I doing out here? Like, I am not a freaking trainer. Like, today, tomorrow, or not even the next day. But you have to, like, I remember thinking about them things, like, kind of like he had said about the I can and I will. To be honest, like, how I function, like, I hang on to that stuff. Like, I hang on to, I have certain people that I really look up to, and there's things that, they might say that really sticks with me. And there's stuff like when you're going through that, because then you're grinding on your own. I had to go find my own cows. I had to figure out my arena, all that stuff that I never really, I knew about it. I appreciated it, but I never had to pay for it. I never had to, I always had every bit I ever needed. I always had every saddle I ever needed. I didn't have to go buy all that. When you go out on your own, I think it's a whole new mental game too, of like, hey, like, things are going to be rough. Things are going to be different. Like, and you got to make your own schedule. You got to hustle a little more. And you can't let it drag you down. Like, and it doesn't mean you can't do it. But it's just, there's going to be times of dryness, and like, where it's just like, man, I'm not getting anything from this, but you gotta kind of work through those times, and just really kind of put in a little extra of yourself into that. Because it's amazing. Like, sometimes too, like, you'll have a really rough day on a horse, and you're like, man, like, I just can't get through to this guy. But then the next day, like, that horse just needed to go take that break. The next day it came out, and you ask it the first thing, you're like, holy heck, you get off the horse right there, and you're like, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted yesterday, but that's all, like, we got it today, and that's it. And it's awesome, because sometimes those really rough days make for a really great next day or next week, or and sometimes that's been the great part of, like, when you're on your own and you have to provide for your own family, like, you got to figure things out. And so I started learning a lot. I started learning a lot about equipment, how to fix stuff, like what I needed, like different, like drags, for instance, like all this different stuff, like, just started really kind of just learning things that I never thought I'd have to worry about or deal with, and so it's pretty cool. And going and buying cattle and being savvy at the sale barn, I had a mess of cows that had pink eye, and I had to treat them all myself, run them through but thankfully, they had a chute system there that was really cool, so I could doctor them every day. But I was out there doctoring my own cattle most of the time, so And then when I got them all cleaned up, then I go like, okay, I'm going to have to pay a lot more attention to how the cow's eyes look, So, like it was definitely eye-opening and really, really neat to go through. It was good for me. I always look back and I think it was very, very good for me. And I'm glad, and I'd do it again, There's some things I wish I'd done better, but yeah.
I think it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, that she didn't really get to see, and she didn't really, and a lot of the clients, don't get to see, like the money that's invested into footing, how often you have to drag it, the money that's invested into bits and knowing, what bit to use when, like I have hundreds of bits and some hang on a wall for a year, 2 years. I never use until I need them for that one horse. And then the mental aspect of this, and I can't remember if we had talked about this or not, but like you have to be mentally tough to do this. Like you have to get inside their head, and you can't let other people get inside your head. It's very easy to start comparing yourself to somebody else. It's very easy to start, say, well, they can do this, why can't I do this? Or and it's a process just like with the horses. And I feel that's one of the toughest things to learn is that mental process. And, just like you wouldn't tear a horse down, and ruin its confidence, you can't let yourself or other people do the same thing to you. You've got to be able to, because people will make comments, people will say things, you've got to be mentally tough, and that's something that I feel she's really worked on. And is getting a lot better, because it's very easy to question yourself. There's days that I go through it, and I can't think that there's a trainer out there that doesn't go through it. You have a bad show, or you have a bad month, or things just aren't working right. But like she said, some of the best works I've ever had on the horses were the day before it seemed like nothing was going right.
Yeah.
And you just got to grind it out and wait for those good days.
Yeah. We used to have a saying kind of before our shows, like, the horses needed to feel like crap before we go.
Yeah.
Because they did. And when they felt like crap, they did great at the show. I'm like, he'd be like, man, that felt real good. I'm like, oh, shoot. Literally before every show, we'd be like, that week was gauntlet week. We were like, man.
And I think that goes back to, how tough are you on yourself? There's been times that I've been showing horses, and in my mind, I'm talking to myself and I'm talking to this horse. Like, I can't believe you just did that. Why did you do that? You feel like crap.
Yeah.
Like, if you do that again, I'm going to pick my hand up and pull on you. Better than to do that. Why'd you do that? And I'm talking to myself, no, just keep your hand down. Keep showing the horse. Keep your hand down. Just keep showing. And I'm walking out of the pen after my run, and I'm thinking, boy, I can't wait to get you home on Monday, because we're going to fix this. And they marked me a 74 and I win the class. But that's the mental thing that was going through my head. It felt a lot worse than what it was, because we expect perfection.
Yeah.
We want perfection. I don't know that we expect it. We want it. And, the day before, when those horses aren't feeling good, they feel like crap, it's because I want them to be perfect, and they're not being perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm asking them to be that next level, and they're not quite there when that next level just beat everybody at the show, even though they weren't there. It's the standard that I think we hold ourselves to, and I think we have to continually hold ourselves to.
Yeah, especially in this industry, like you said, it's cutthroat. I mean, like, we talk about like the training itself, like training. There's horse trainers out there. They stay home a lot, or they don't all, but I mean, for the most part, like, say, for instance, if you're mostly a 2-year-old guy, you're home with the 2-year-olds, or if you're out showing, you're out showing a lot, so you're not back home 24/7, or you usually take your crew of horses with you and work them while you're there, the up and coming ones, but I don't remember where I was going with this, but whenever you were, when it comes to like the standards and everything, like it's like these horses, they tell on you. Like when you get to them shows, heck, you might get something in, you're like, we're not sure how this is going to go, but like, especially on a horse you just bought that's already finished or something, you can't go out there and change its style. Like if it just, if it's got $100,000 in earnings, like it's obviously got a style that works. Yeah. So there's things like that, but going out there and every week, like there's gonna be, or every show that like you might not top every show. And what it is though is like everybody only sees that face, that show, like, and who won that show, who was on top. And they also look at who was on the bottom, you know? And it's almost like this constant, like that's what gets me about the whole mental thing of it. That's really challenging to me, that I really enjoy, because, you know, I'm kind of, that's my goal, is I want to, you know, show more. But that it is like, you know, you can go and your horses can feel great, but you might not, you know, you might not beat the guy that's got something nicer, or maybe he worked a little harder at home and got some stuff done, and you show up and it's not just always going to go the way you planned. But it's just neat because too, like, as cutthroat as it is, showing against these guys, and the competition's pretty serious. It's also really neat. Like, these guys all work together really well too. Like when it goes into going into that pen, you know, there's several trainers in that pen at a time, and it's really neat how they all work together. I mean, they're all competing against each other, but I know Andrew, like, he competes against, you know, several guys that he calls weekly, you know, so it's pretty neat. So it's really cool. It's cutthroat while at the same time these guys are, for the most part, pretty good to each other. But too, like, I think everybody who has spent any time in there, you realize you can't do it alone. Like, you can't go in there and hold all the cows off the wall. Like, you can't. You got to cut that thing, but those guys got to help you get the rest of that stuff done. So that's pretty neat too, that aspect.
It's a mutual respect, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't want to get beat or I don't want to beat somebody because they made a mistake here, or their help didn't help them enough there. Like, I want to get beat because that guy worked harder than me, and because, you know, that guy showed his horse better than me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always try to keep that in the back of my mind. You know, like, listen, this we all have to work together, and it's a mutual respect thing. You know, Tracy Barton has been fantastic for me. You know, and Paul Waslin, like, they've really, really helped me. You know, and these are guys that I'm competing against, and, you know, like, I make a mistake in the show pen, and, you know, Tracy at the last show, he said, "Hey, let me talk to you," and he gave me a pointer that I didn't even think about, you know, that could have changed my whole run, and that I'm probably going to use to beat him in the future.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have to do that, you know, but he did, because he wants to see me get better, you know, and I know that. So, like, when I'm out there helping these guys, like, I'm doing everything I can, you know, to make sure that their run is the best run it could possibly be, and that if I do beat them, it's because I had the better horse, or I worked a little harder that week or that month. And, you know, it's invaluable. You know,
Yeah.
Tracy's won millions of dollars doing this, and he doesn't have to help me. You know, he doesn't have to help me at all. But the time that he takes to just pull me aside and say, "Hey, you know, do this," or, "Hey, I'd go cut this cow," or that, like, it's invaluable. You know, like, it's very cool that the guy that you're out there competing against is helping you.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I think that just kind of says something about the sport as a whole, how cool it is, and kind of that whole, like, maybe it's not as much like, you know, person-to-person competition, but it's like, hey, we're all out here. We all got to, like, pick our cows, cut our cows. Like, you're competing against the cattle more so than each other.
Yeah, and then I kind of look at it like golf, and I can't remember if we talked about this in the part that we didn't touch. You know, you're competing with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to go out there and be the better rider than I was yesterday. I want to be a better showman than I was yesterday. Doesn't matter if I beat him, as long as my horse goes out there and gives, you know, 100%. I go out there and give 100%. That's all we can ask for. It might not be in the cards for us that day, because when you sit back and look at it, there's a lot of minds that are involved in this. You know, you have all the cattle, you have your turnback, you have your horse. You know, the cards do have to line up.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking for 2.5 minutes of perfection, and it's got to line up. So there's days that I beat the best horse in the pen when I didn't have the best horse, and there's days that I had the best horse in the pen, but I got beat just because, you know, a little mistake here, a little mistake there. You know, it's understanding that, knowing that, and getting your clients and everybody else to understand that. Like, just because you had a bad show doesn't mean this is a bad horse. And I've had some really good horses come through, and like they ran through some bad luck, and the owner's like, what's going on? Like, why aren't we pulling a check? Why aren't we doing this? And I'm like, listen, your horse is working well. That's all I can do. That's all I can ask for. Your horse is working well. Things just have to line up. And then we go to a show and we mark 2 or 3 73s to win the class, and then you go through, like, the worst thing that I think can happen is the first time you take that horse out, like say the first 3 shows, it goes out there and wins every time.
Yeah.
And then it goes through 2 shows that it doesn't get a check, and it's not its fault. It's not my fault. Just things didn't line up, and now they're like, well, let's sell it. It's not working right, or why isn't this horse working well? Or that's the tough thing. But it's being able to communicate, like we had talked about. I'm sorry.
Just kind of a question that came up as you were talking. Talk about turning in your non-pro card.
Yeah.
Was that something you struggled with at all? Was there part of you that's like, well, if I stay a non-pro, like, maybe the competition isn't as high, like keep my own horse or whatever, and go about it that way, and just kind of stay where you're at, more like managing stuff? Or
looking back, I wish I would have. I wish I'd have kept it for the reason of which I wasn't very literate on how things worked and all that stuff. But like, if I had stayed non-pro and been able to show some of the horses that Andrew kind of had, that, like, say he wanted to be able to show in a obviously a professional class, and then follow behind it with a non-pro class, that I could get it through, and we could help kind of build the horse up. I wanted to do that more, like, because to be honest, like, looking back, I wish I'd have taken more opportunities to show, because honestly, ideally, like, that was my favorite thing. When I got it, Andrew let me show a couple. He had some really great clients that had some horses that they gave me that opportunity to do so. I loved it. Like, I loved the show aspect. I had my first couple shows, they were really rough, but like we said, with time and how things went on, like, I started to get a feel, and I feel like I really have a desire to show them and get out there and go through them runs with those horses. Like, that was really cool to me. Right now, I haven't shown. I showed out on my own there last year, but I haven't shown since. I've done a lot of young stuff, and I have a cutter up and coming now, and some other opportunities. But that was the thing back when I worked for him. Like, I wish I'd have taken that a little more seriously.
I don't think it was a mistake.
I don't think it was a mistake.
The issue with the NCHA is, like, she would have to own her horse, and she didn't have the ability at that point to own her horse. She was going to have more opportunities to show as an open rider once she got out of the 2000.
Okay.
And I don't think she would be where she's at in her career if she would have kept that non-pro card. I think the horses that she has got in, that she's had to work through, she's getting, a lot of the problem stuff. Like we had talked earlier, like stuff that I wouldn't take because, like, it was just our goals didn't align.
Yeah.
And she's figured out a way to make these horses, get to where they need to be. And I think that's been huge for her career. And her
absolutely. I agree.
As a horsewoman.
Yeah, for sure. I don't mean that. Like, I wouldn't take back getting the horses. I've learned so much from every single horse. But I guess I just felt if I'd have kept that non-pro, like, it'd have been more beneficial for our business to have done that. But yeah. But I've learned so much, and I have really great clients that have pushed me through. A couple of them have left their horses with me for a while. Some good opportunities, and I've started a couple nice ones. One that was really cool. I have to say that I've started a couple, and there's one I got that was real nice, and I had a good feeling about as far as cutting goes, as far as a good prospect, and I was able to. That was a goal of mine, to be able to hand one off to Andrew, and so I did that, and that's been really neat to watch. And I'm still like, every day I come out like, hey, if that thing don't cut, that's all right. I'm not gonna get all butthurt about it. But she's got some try to her, and so far she's doing real well. And then I'm building my own, and now I'm getting all kinds of 2-year-olds up and going, and it's been great. But yeah.
Yeah, she's starting a little highbrow CD for me at the moment. But
Oh yeah,
I
he's
put
cool.
one ride on the first ride. I'm sorry. I put one ride on the first ride, just to make sure that it wasn't bronchi and stuff like that. And I'm too big for it. Like, it's a tiny horse, and
Little stud horse.
Yeah, and that's something that people call us all the time. Well, my horse is little. Like, well, we can still take care of it. We still, Becca works it if I'm too big for it until the thing gets a little stronger, and she's done a great job with that little horse. That I can't wait till it gets strong enough for me to
cool.
ride.
I put him on the flag the other day. And me, I was a little like, well, maybe he's not quite ready. Just, whatever. And Andrew's just like, just do it. And I'm like, all right. And he did real well. He's got a really nice, turn. Like, he wants to draw back on his hind end a lot. You don't find that in horses very much. Like, it's just rare to find one that wants naturally wants to get back and suck back for you. I mean, that takes so much out of your work. Like, it's great, and it's something you got to protect.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's been real fun working with him. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any other good stories or anything that you can think of just off the top of your head? I know we talked about some of your wrecks prior, but
sure. So I had several. I mean, obviously the one I said it way back when I was about a year in working with Andrew. I got bucked off and I got compression fractures because what happened, it was crazy. So I landed on my butt, right? And a compression fracture is, up and down the spine, if that makes sense, if that gives you a visual there. But so crazy. I'm riding this horse around, and he was real nervous about new things, and we had some banners up in the arena. Well, on the one wall, the banner, I guess, ricocheted or something. And it was the first day I had been on it with spurs. And so he went one way, and then he just started I don't even remember how it exactly, how I got bucked off. But I landed on my butt, and then my head was really hurting. So I got a concussion and didn't really realize it. And anyway, he's like, just go up to the house, go in there and just chill out, and I'll deal with this horse or whatever. And so I go up, and from what I'm told, I was sitting with my head on the couch, bent over and just asleep. I don't know, I'm not conked out right there. They took me to the hospital, and Bedford, our local hospital, was nervous about dealing with me because they weren't sure how bad it was. So then they shipped me Altoona. This is all the beginning of COVID. So they were all panicking and freaking out and all this nonsense. And I got up there, and here I had compression fractures. So they made me stay in bed, gave me some really good drugs. I went nuts. I'm a doer. I'm a mover. I don't sit around for nothing just because I don't enjoy it. My mind's racing, and I'm always thinking about what I could be doing or what needs done. And that was hard. I think as far as depression goes, I definitely it was a whole new level of crazy. But yeah, the pain meds were really good. They worked really well, but they made me it really messed with my mind a lot. So they took me off those and put me on something a little less aggressive, and it helped. But that was a rough 6 weeks. Like I said, I went out and visited when I could out here and just sat and watched. But that was really tough. In my mind, it was a huge setback. I felt shoot, here I am laying in this bed, not getting anywhere, not getting any riding time. Just useless right now. Because at that point, that's when I was at my goal of I knew I was I want to train. So I just felt it set me back, way back. Because I felt I had no time to spare to learn how to do this. And so I think that's probably what made it so hard, because I mentally in my mind made that you're behind.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got through that, and and I really wasn't behind or whatever. I got healthy and started riding slowly. I had to wear this big old janky back brace thing, and they had my neck in this weird collar. It was weird. I didn't have to wear the neck thing very long. That was nice. But when I went to get on, I felt Play-Doh. Like, it was weird. Like, I got up there and I felt like so uncomfortable. That was different, transitioning back into riding. But I had some really great support. The people, when I was in bed, they reached out. There's one girl, really good friend of ours. She came down, and I was Andrew's only help forever. And this, so Andrew, I felt bad because I left him hanging, but this girl came and stayed with Andrew for a couple weeks and worked for him and saddled horses, did all that stuff. And she did a really good job. She filled in for me. Angie. Remember that? She came down and stayed with you. But yeah, so that was cool. The next thing that I had done, I was riding a Carmelo stud horse, and we had put some time on him. Well, the owner had taken it to some barrel clinic, then brought it back, and I was out riding, and I don't exactly remember how this thing started bronking. Like, I have no idea why, and I still wasn't very sticky at the time. And this thing was bronking around, and then I ended up on the ground. But I had, when I was falling down, it bronked hard the last time that it knocked my tooth out, coming down, hitting the horn. And then I went down to the ground, and I kind of blacked out, like, right when he jumped on me, but he landed right. Like, I came down, and then his next jump was on my chest. And that was weird. I kind of, like, blacked out, and it was a feeling of, like, am I dead? I was like, am I dead right now? It was weird. It was like
the noises she was making.
It was like a zone I went into for, like, it felt like forever, but it was probably only like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But that was pretty scary. I got up, and I don't know why. Like, I was all, well, I got pissed pretty easily with that stuff. Like, because I get so mad. I work so hard to just get better at this riding thing, and these freaking horses, I would get bucked off left and right. I mean, heck, if a horse would just be clumsy, it'd be clumsy for me and fall over on its face, and I would be the one on it, you know? Like, it just felt like it found me wherever I went, like, just falling off. It was bad. But yeah, so that was crazy. And when that happened, I did have to go to the emergency room for that again. That was a good time. They gave me some really good medicine there. And here I was singing. Andrew recorded it. It was still during COVID. It was probably a year into COVID, and I was singing Colt 45. And
I didn't go into all those details, but I told him
right.
I told him that the staff and everybody loved you.
Oh yeah, they thought I was hilarious. The guy next door to me, or was it a girl? I don't remember.
I think it was a guy.
But, like, when I was getting ready to leave, he's like, "Man, that is the most fun I've had in a hospital, or I've had, like, that is the most the greatest entertainment I've ever had." I'm like,
yeah, he's like,
"Great,
give me
buddy."
what she's got.
Oh, it was funny. Like, I was like, I am so glad you had a good time, but I must have been feeling really good. Like, that stuff was working really good. But yeah, so that was that. So I broke my back, and then I broke my ribs, and that horse knocked my teeth out. So then I had these fake teeth, and we joke about it now. Like, I obviously have fake teeth. But yeah, I can't think of any other things that were major anyway. Yeah. I got bucked off a lot, so.
Yeah, I feel like there's a decent amount of trainers that are missing teeth. I don't know if you guys know Casey Deary. He's big in the reining, but he's got fake teeth, and I'm trying to think of some others, but there's a handful of them that I've heard of.
Yeah.
So I guess you're in good company there, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, they're all men though. That's different. Oh, I get this. So having these fake teeth, I didn't know how to live life with them, right? Because I was waiting until I would get my real or the like.
You had temporary.
I had temporary like teeth, right? So it was hilarious. There's like 3 times I knocked these suckers out, right? The one time I was braiding horse's hair, and I went and took like the tape, like stuck it, and I was like going to pull the thing out. Oh man, knocked it right out. Oh, and then I had
I could tell when she'd knock her teeth out because she wouldn't smile. Like, she's always smiling, and she'd walk around like knock around like,
I was
knock
so
your teeth out again. No.
Yeah, so that was the first time. Then the second time, so I got that. I had to pay and go get that fixed, right? Because I was like, I ain't living life without a tooth, right? So, and then we were at Garwood, and I was taking all the stuff down from a show. And the saddle rack came down on my face, and busted it out again, bruised my face and busted my tooth out. And so I had to get that fixed. And I remember we were in the truck and Andrew just sitting there laughing, right? And of course, these trainers come walking over wanting to talk to us while we're leaving. And I'm sitting here covering my mouth and they just start busting out laughing because Andrew tells them why I'm not looking at them. But yeah, so it was interesting. Like I didn't want to spend the money to go get my teeth fixed, so I get them knocked out 3 times and then I go spend the money. So it was great. Like I said, I learn lessons hard. Like I make sure it's good and hard before I figure it out.
Yeah.
So
at least you have a good attitude about it. At least it seems that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to, like, it's so easy to get discouraged about stuff, or discouraged about not knowing stuff, or maybe how the life isn't the deck of cards you thought should have been handed to you. But like, I mean, you gotta roll with it. You gotta roll with it and be excited about it.
As much as I, might complain about her being happy all the time, it definitely lightens the mood, when you're having those bad days. She's doing something to make you laugh or make you smile.
Or doing something dumb. Like
it takes your mind off the bad day you're having.
Like, if there's a way to break something too, man. Like, whoops.
Oh,
yeah, I've broken a lot of things too.
Yeah, I bought a lot of tires.
Yeah, man, I did. I blew a lot of tires. But that field, man, that field was rough for a while. Yeah, I backed a trailer down in the arena the one day and busted a tire on some nail or whatever. And I did. I made sure to buy all my tires. I tried to take care of that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so my life's been expensive. I've paid for a lot of stupid.
Hey, there's a ignorance tax, right? That's what they say.
That's right. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
He used to tell me too, like, because like when I first started riding, he's like, I would just kind of jump on. I was fearless too, kind of for the longest time. But I didn't really have feel. But I wanted to get on so bad, right? But some of these horses, like we had one that was just cold back sucker. Like every day you got on her, she wanted to be cold back. And there's I don't remember which horse it was or if it was that dual ray mare. But he would be like, well, if you're going to be stupid, or what was that saying?
If you're going to be stupid, you better be tough.
Yeah, that. And I just lived with that because I was like, or I just ran with that because I knew there's so many things that I just didn't know, and I wouldn't know until I figured it out. And it's not like I tried to be, but like sometimes I wouldn't know like how to read a horse. So I'm just like, I just got to get on and figure it out. That's just how I kind of was like, well, here we go. But that was something that stuck with me, man. And I think that kind of stuff kind of just, I don't know, gets you through it, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to laugh about it.
Yeah.
I try to take the easier way.
Yeah, he's definitely always been smart. Like whenever I first started with him, he was always very happy to tell everybody, be like, listen, I put her on the stuff that I don't feel comfortable riding. And here's his thing, like, he goes, if she gets hurt, I can still pay her. But if I get hurt, I can't pay everybody.
Right.
And so I'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
These are my crash test dummies.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Like Hunter, broke his leg down here and was off for like 10 weeks. Like the business still continued.
Yep.
He still got paid. I paid him the whole time he was off. But that's why, a lot of these guys have 2-year-old guys, and, they have people to do that because, if we go down, the business is in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's risky enough even with the horses that aren't 2-year-olds. They stumble, they fall, something happens that, unfortunately, I am the business. I have a lot of people that help me and, help this business, but it's a name. You get a reputation, So I'm sure there's clients that would be all right with it, but there's also clients that probably wouldn't be all right with it, that if I would get hurt, like, I would feel comfortable having Becca step in and show those horses for me or work those horses for me.
Yeah.
And there's some clients that said that would be okay with that, and there's some that wouldn't. But, that's something that we've always got to keep, like there's things that I would love to do. Like I like snowboarding, but I try not to go snowboarding because, if I get hurt, like I'm in trouble. I don't have, another option.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legitimate. I just, I got to rag on him about something. I just kind of like the aspect of be like, he's just a big sissy.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't, because there's really two kind of like problematic horses. There's horses like, hey, we're having a problem with Chopin. Then you got a horse that's just like, its mind's like,
blown.
Yep. You don't know what it's going to do type mentality. And we had a lot of a mix for a while, so it was legitimate. I just,
and that was where I feel like she struggled the most, because she didn't have feel. And I tried to put the first rides on a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'd get on them and I'd ride them around, and I'd make sure, that they weren't like dangerous trying to get you off. Like they might spook and throw a buck or two, or, something might make them a little squirrely.
Yeah.
I'd put the first couple rides on it, and then she'd get on them. And because she didn't have that feel, where I could talk them out of bucking, like I'd feel them getting ready to buck, and I'd talk them out of it, just make them think about something else, change the direction we're going, where she hadn't had that yet. She hadn't developed where she could feel that this horse was getting ready to buck.
Yeah.
And she didn't know how to, talk it out.
Divert that energy somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like he definitely.
And now she's fantastic about it. Like I watched her ride that one horse that I told you that we had trouble loading the other day, and like if things would have went haywire, like that thing was on the verge, and she talked it out of it many times, just because she's developed that feel now and that understanding of, hey, this thing's getting a little anxious, or it's getting nervous, we need to change its train of thought.
Yeah. And I've also learned through like my time in training too, is like, some horses they come to you with problems, but really, like, people don't realize they pick fights from the get-go sometimes when you get on, and like I like that term you use, talking them out of it, because like that's genuinely kind of what you do. You kind of make your way like reasonable, and that's what I try to do with a lot of them. Man, I can't say it's just me maybe, but I feel like I've been able to take a lot of horses that normally kind of want to just be awful or who were aggressive, and change their mentality to a good working mentality, because that's the biggest thing. You want to make them good citizens of society, basically, because that's just a lot of what these people are just looking for, like just something safe. So
yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that, and finding ways to make those horses like good citizens. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you want. It's the best thing for the horse too.
Sure, for those kind of horses,
the best life out of it.
Yeah, right.
But going forward, unless you got any other good stories that you want to tell, and Andrew stepped out now, so if you
yeah, right. No, nothing. Just those couple things were probably the major incidents in my time here. So
yeah. What are your goals going forward? It's a question I like to kind of ask everybody, and whether it's like, from a just like getting in the pen where you want to be, or if it's like career wise, like business wise, like that kind of stuff, or just life in general.
Sure. Yeah. So we kind of have a good bit kind of going right now. We both have our businesses going. We have 4 kids between the both of us. And our businesses are growing, which is fantastic. But like as far as business goals, I would really like I love that I'm getting lots of young stuff, and with getting this stuff, I've been really able to do a lot more, or get a lot more experience, like introducing them to cattle and the right timing, and getting a feel for all that. And that's been awesome, because my goal long term, if I get young stuff, I want to be able to hang on to it for 2 years and go show it, type of thing.
Yeah.
The other aspect is like, I love to tune on the weekend horses, and I'd love to get more showing time in on that aspect of things. So I love working with them. So the biggest thing for me would really just kind of gearing all my horses and clients towards getting to the show pen, because that's what I love. I love going out there. I love the challenge of the show, and just working with these horses individually and getting them prepared for that show. I like that because they're deadlines, and it's always so like we talked about before, like the up and coming and having good weeks, bad weeks, whatever. But it's a whole nother challenge to the training aspect of things. And so I'm looking forward to that. And that's long term. That's what I want to be doing, is showing and getting out there a little more eventually. So that's where I would be at with my work goals.
Yeah.
And get better horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get some better caliber, higher caliber horses in there too. So.
Yeah. I feel like that's something everyone's always hunting, because
yeah, right.
Partially you need the horsepower to go.
Exactly.
To win,
Yeah, athleticism plays a big part in it. But kind of like he said, like some of these horses, they're not. We've had some really cool ones come in that weren't bred to really supposed to do it, but they had that I will mentality, and they're athletic, and it goes together really well. So yeah, and you could train a lot of that into them as well. So I love that about it too. Like we could, I like to, and I'm totally fine with it, but I like to even say I'm for underdog horses. Like I love getting
Everyone
a horse
loves
in
an
that
underdog,
people are like, yeah, that horse can't do it, or that horse is a jackwagon, send it somewhere else. And then we work with it, and we're able to go show this horse that no one thought could do anything,
Yeah.
And that was one thing Andrew took a lot of, back when I was with him. Like he took tons of sorting horses that did a totally different thing. It's like the barrel racing of the cow industry, legitimately, and goes and wins cutting shows. Like I said, that New York show I went to on my own there, when I was out completely on my own. I took a sorting horse in there, made it correct, it was able to win. Like that was, to me, that says a lot. If you can make a bad horse good, then you're doing something. So whether you got a name for yourself yet or not, I mean, I feel like that really kind of, like they say, separate the men from the boys.
Yeah. And we're still doing that. One of the horses that I'm showing this year was a sorting horse last year. And it didn't, like, the guy dropped off 2 sorters. They were the same age, out of the same sire. One made it and one didn't. I'm not saying they're all going to make it, but now, we're winning on that horse that didn't have any earnings, was just a sorting horse. But that guy's been very patient with me, been very patient with the horse, and he's doing really well. But
yeah,
you can, and that's what's really nice about us doing, like, we don't sort a lot, but we have sortings here. Like, and it's good for our clients that, hey, this horse isn't working, we can take it to the sorting pen. Or people are like, hey, I've got this sorter, and he was trained as a cutter to start, but I'd like to start cutting. So we have a diversification that we can go one way or the other with this.
Yeah.
And, find out what the best job is for those horses.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. You can kind of keep it in-house that way. Like, if it doesn't work one way, you don't have to, like, totally, get rid of the horse. Just turn around and be like, well, we'll try this and see if that works. And it's definitely cool. You kind of do both.
Yeah, and I know we talked about our goals in the last one, and this is a goal that I've had for a while that I didn't mention, but I would love to have more of that. Like, I would love to have a rein cow horse trainer in here. Like, hey, this one's not going to make a cutter, it's not going to make a sorter. Hey, let's take it to the rein cow horse world. So where, like, people, they can come here and it's a one-stop shop. We can do cutters, we can do sorters, we can do rein cow horse, we can do reining.
Yeah.
If we had the facility, eventually, hopefully one day we're to that point where we have the facility that we can house all those different disciplines that, if you have a horse, you can bring it here and we're going to find something for you and your horse to do.
Yeah. That would be super cool, even just to show people, like, all the different disciplines, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they might, like, realize, like, well, this horse is probably going to be a reiner, but like, the cutting looks awesome. Like, that's what they want to do. I mean, then you can probably find someone for that horse that works out better, find them a new horse that's going to put them in the cutting, but they at least know what all's out there, because it's hard to find if you're not in it or somehow stumble into someone and that's what they do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and I think diversifying our businesses has helped tremendously. Like, I mean, kind of like he talked about, he wants it to be like a one-stop shop. It's really great because we've got, with having multiple trainers here, which is, like I said, it's not very common to have many people that can work together, okay, because everybody has their own way of doing things, you know, and button heads and stuff like that. But if we could diversify the business in a sense of like, hey, we could have someone come in and do the cow horse training, and you know, obviously we already have the cattle here for the cutting and stuff like that, and then me and Hunter are both 2-year-old people, you know, and I do like that aspect of things, like, you know, eventually, I mean, we talk about all kinds of goals and where we'd like to take our businesses or where we'd like to see them, but I know for sure that's one of them, is just kind of being able to build on that. So
yeah, feel like you kind of, or just your whole story is kind of advice for someone, especially if they want to like get into this or be a trainer or whatever. But is there anything like more specific that you maybe want to share, or I mean, even if you just have life advice in general or business advice or something, you know, that you've kind of grabbed to or realized in like your path through this, that's worth sharing? Sure.
Maybe a couple of things. So like, I think something we touched on and that I will or I can stuff, you know, I wasn't born into the cutting and cow horse stuff, and I didn't grow up with horses, and so like, to me, myself, meeting my own personal goals, like, I'm not technically supposed to be doing this, you know, like technically I'm not on paper what everyone would have assumed of me, you know? So like believing in what you're passionate about, and like you yourself have to go out there and get it. It speaks volumes, because that means, you know, if I can do it, like if I can literally do it, then literally everybody can do it. Because, you know, I'm just, like I said, I wasn't supposed to, I don't think I was supposed to turn out this way, you know, or be into it like this. Like I just never saw it ever. So I just think if you're passionate about something, don't be afraid to literally get out and try, be driven, don't pace yourself to what everybody else does. You know, that was something that kind of, as I was going through getting into this, like sometimes you see how people are and how they do their daily stuff. Like, no, like you got to learn to be patient, and you need to learn to, you know, like be consistent. That was a big thing for me, because I'm more of a hustler, but you can't, you know, that can play into how your horses work and stuff. You gotta be careful of that stuff. But I mean, though, like be disciplined, and like don't give up on what you want, because like I said, you know, you can do so much more than you ever thought. And that is something that is probably really, like, I just feel like I can take my own advice for once, you know, because it's like, it's legit. Like I just never ever dreamed I'd even have my own training barn of horses, you know, and here I am. Yeah. And I thank God every day, because I'm like, God, like I never thought this is possible. Never thought I could make anything of myself like this. You know, I thought, sure, I might be able to build some kind of other business, but not like a name for myself. And now it's really cool. Like I've actually had people like, hey, we heard you're really good here and there. And like, people don't understand when you hear that stuff. You're like, man, that's awesome. That's really cool, because it means like I built that. I did that. My hard work paid off. Not giving up paid off, you know, not letting, man, there's a lot of people that said stuff to me that, you know, I won't say, but like, you know, I look at that as an opportunity to have chose, like, okay, I can either take that and just quit everything, or I can just, you know, keep going after it. Because a lot of time I think we fear of failure, or that we're not meant to do something. But when you're passionate about something, that's a whole different deal, you know. Yeah. You'll know if you're meant to do something or not, you know.
I would like touch on that a little bit. Like there was a time that I was really questioning myself and my choices. You know, we were in between training facilities, you know, like and that just seems like a thing that has to do with trainers. Like you go from one place to the next. And,
right.
You know, I was in between training facilities, and I didn't have a place to go. I didn't know where, I was going to be training horses out of, or even if I should. And I struggled. Like, I struggled with it. Is this God telling me, hey, like, you need to go a different route? Like, this training isn't for you. Or is this God saying, how bad do you want it? Do you keep pushing forward? And trying to differentiate between the two, like, should I give up and go a different route because that's where my path is supposed to go? Or do I keep working for it because this is something I really want, and this is just a test to see how bad I want it, see how much I'm going to push through. And I think I made the right choice because my business has consistently grown and things have consistently gotten better. But making that decision and making that choice that, hey, this is the right path was a tough one. I really struggled with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad you put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good way to say it, I think. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of got chills listening to that because I feel like I've dealt with that same, like, mental struggle already, like, a bunch.
Yeah. Well, too, you read so much. It's like, be mentally tough, be all the time. And everybody's like, we're trying to figure out what being means. Like, what is being this or that? Like, and it's those struggles every day of, like, that if you start looking at what you're fighting with mentally, like with this training game, like, I know I started doing that because we talked about, I struggled mentally with some horses. Like, I just thought, I'm just not meant to do this, like, because I can't get through to one, And when I started realizing what my B was, like how can I be mentally tough? It's those times when someone, or Andrew specifically, is trying to coach me and I don't mentally shut down. Instead, like, see what that guy's trying to get through to me. See where he's coming from because he sees what I can't. Yeah. You're in the moment of it. You're in the thick of it, and you can't see beyond that bubble right there, right in front of you. It's like a tunnel vision, Mm-hmm. But when you can start trying to train yourself to step outside that and be like, okay, what's he getting at here? What's he trying to get across to me? Yeah. And that helped me tremendously because the biggest thing for me was just like, I'm just not getting it. I'm just pounding it out, taking it out on this horse. I don't want to take it out on him, but this horse is paying for my ignorance. Yeah. And I think that helped me a lot, which I still have to be on top of that with myself as far as being like, hey, are you being teachable today? Are you being disciplined today?
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm over here nodding along with all that, and I don't know, I can relate so much to that, and it's so hard and so easy to be caught up in that moment and just kind of check out versus like being able to detach from the situation for a second, especially when someone's coaching you.
Yep.
And just like completely separate it from it and be able to take in what they're telling you.
Yep.
I think so much of the time we take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Like we feel like it's a personal attack on us.
Yeah.
When it's really not.
Right.
Like it's not that attack on you. It's that push to try to make you better.
Yeah.
And in our mind, we hear the negative. We hear we suck. We keep screwing up. Oh my goodness, we're screwing this horse up. Like this or that. And it's not that case. It's, hey, stop doing that. If you continue doing that, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough thing. Like, and it all goes back to the mental state that you're in when you're working horses. You've got to be, like she said, teachable. You've got to be, you got to think he's not telling me or she's not telling me this stuff because they think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
If they think you're stupid or they think that you're, unteachable, they're not going to be there giving you that instruction.
Yeah.
They're just as much invested as this as you are. They want to see you succeed.
Yeah. And I think that's where, when we say that mental toughness is super important in this sport, because it is. Like, to be mentally tough, though, we have to be mentally aware, which means what? We got to control. We can't control what comes into our mind, but we can control those thoughts and tell them where to go. I've been learning a lot of that lately because, like, especially with these horses, which has helped me be more consistent because I haven't been allowing the bad days run into the next horse or that. That is something I have changed tremendously on, just, I would have to say, in the past 2 months, maybe. To be honest, that's how long I've struggled with it. But like you start to be like, okay, like you start picking apart like the session, or you start picking apart like, hey, like Was I in a good mental place working this horse, or am I treating this horse like the horse that was bad before it? Or, like he said, like with the coaching or whatever, like I didn't realize it, but I was choosing I didn't know this, I wasn't aware of it, but then when I started stepping back, like I was choosing to hear the negative. I was not choosing to hear the parts where he was trying to help me. Like all I could think on and dwell on was the certain things. And that's where, I talked a little bit at the beginning about, working together and stuff. And some people say about not mixing business and relationships, stuff like that. And I think it's really tough to be a family and work together and things like that. But I think I know whenever we try on that aspect, especially, like things just go a lot better, because all of a sudden we're, like he said, you're not taking it personal. You're not like, you're looking at it as like, hey, like this is an opportunity to get better. Yep. Let's take it. And that's how I've had to change myself, because to be honest, working together, I struggle with that sometimes. I'm still mad about what happened that morning. I'm like, no, you can't do that. When you walk in that arena, that stuff's got to fall off your back. You roll into the next thing. And that was really hard for me to grasp. And I didn't start getting a hold of that till this year. So
I feel like I'm pretty good at it. Like,
oh, you're fantastic at it.
Well, like,
I can't tell if that was complete sarcasm or not sarcasm at all.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of both. Like, I love that he's good at it, but I also hate it, because something that made me mad this morning, like, he better be carrying it later and thinking about it, but he's not. So it's great. It's great, because I'm like,
what did I do this morning?
Yeah, surely he knows what happened right now.
I don't.
No, I just mean as a.
Oh, okay.
It just as a.
I'm like, man, what did I do this morning?
No, not today. I wasn't saying that.
But like, yeah. So like, I can get frustrated or mad at her in the arena. Like, she might have did something dumb with the cows, or might have did this or that. And like, once I tell her about it, I'm done. That's it. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like, and I try to do the same thing with the horses. Like, I can be riding around a 2-year-old, and this thing break in two, and I'll get after it. But then as soon as I'm done getting after it, all right, we're going to go back to our ride.
Yeah.
Like I just, you've got to be able to drop it, and not take it personal. Like that horse was just trying to, attack me personally.
Yeah.
It's genuinely a great thing. Like, I half sarcastically, because like I said, with our personal life aside, like it's easy for me, and I'm a woman, so like I'm an emotional being more so, and it seems easier for the guys. They're just wired differently, obviously, but like as women, it's harder for us, I think, to have that mentality, because we're more of like nurturers and emotional and junk like that, little whatever. But because I've tried to apply that, not so much, it's not a not caring thing, but it's just like, hey, like that's not priority right now. Like that needs to go on the back burner. We can deal with that later. That was really hard for me for a while, because it's just like, to me, it was super important. To him, I thought it wasn't important. It's not that it wasn't. It's just like he knows, or he kind of, and this is what he's taught me from me being around him, is like you have to, like, especially in this deal, with to be mentally tough and be able to handle, like, because you can't let that translate on your horses. Heck, if you do that, then like every day is going to be a rough day, and it can kind of get that way. So it's really helped to be aware, and kind of make those changes in my life and how I do things, because it's helped my training immensely. Like I'm able to focus better. I have a lot of late nights and stuff, and that's where you start getting tired, and you start just thinking, you start thinking all kinds of stuff, right? Where would I rather be right now? But yeah, it's just helped me to like even just push through, but like, hey, like each one of these clients that I have, I got to get these horses done, because to me, I look at it as I'm cheating a client every time I don't work their horse, so that's just how I've been able to kind of truck through that. And it's a huge game changer. The mental game, when you start getting in control of it, it's a game changer.
And she touched on an aspect there that was kind of hard for me to understand, and I find it sometimes hard for her to understand, but we have that pressure we put on ourselves. Like our client is paying us to ride this horse, and we feel that, hey, we should ride it 5 days a week. And that if you don't ride it, you feel like you're cheating that client, where there's sometimes that not riding that horse is better for that horse than riding that horse. Like I've found that, some horses work three times a week. Some horses need 6, and being able to distinguish between the two and not feeling guilty when it's a horse that has to be rode 3 times a week, and I always try to tell my clients and look at it as like, they're not paying me for rides and the number of rides. They're paying me for the quality of rides.
Right.
If I can get as much accomplished in 3 rides a week as I can in 5 rides a week, well, 3 rides is probably better for the horse.
Yeah.
And not feeling guilty that horse didn't get, worked. It might have got exercised, it might have got turned out, but not feeling guilty that I didn't personally get on that horse and work it today. My futurity horse 2 years ago, like, she was one that I worked 3 times a week. If I got on her more, like, she needed a day in between, because if not, she just didn't come out the next day. If I worked her 3 days in a row, that third day was terrible. But if I worked her Monday, Wednesday, Friday was great. Wednesday was great. But too much, and she wanted to work. Like, she was one that I loved working, was easy to work, and if I could have, I'd have worked her all day.
Yeah.
Because I loved working her. But knowing that horse and knowing, like, listen, you're not cheating the client. You're not, taking advantage of the client, because your goal isn't to put 30 rides on this horse in 30 days. Your goal is to have a better product at the end of those 30 days than what you started with.
Yeah.
And understanding that and not feeling guilty about that was a tough thing to have to cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that too, because I know I have one specifically that she gets rode every day, but we're not in work mode 5 days a week. It's literally 3 days. It's like 2 days of the flag work, a third day a cattle day, because for her, if I stick her in front of cows, like, she's just like, I'm out, or it's all work at that point. So I break some of them up, like, and we have different schedules of how we do things, but like, say there's Andrew's typically, Monday is an exercise day, because typically Monday after a weekend, if they haven't been rode Saturday and Sunday, they're all ready to rock and roll, so it's not really a great day to go tuning and pulling on a horse on a Monday, right? So we try to be mindful of that. Like, that's a let everybody blow out their steam day, turn out, ride or lope, and then Tuesday you start kind of dialing in a little bit. Wednesday you're flagging or working cows. It depends on what we all got going on. We have so many different horses that need different things, but yeah, you get to know your horse and what it needs, and how it works best. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, that's really all I got. Is there anything that you thought of, want to share, or anything we missed that you want to touch on, or?
I don't think so. I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
If you want to plug your social medias or anything like that, or sponsors or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want to shout out my main sponsor. It's BAHR Insurance and Associates out of Virginia. They've been really great to me. If you have any equine insurance needs or farm insurance needs, like, he can set you up with the best setup there, and he also does like the life insurance and things like that. Like, if you're looking into that stuff and you're in the horse business, reach out to them. That'd be great. But yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's Truax Performance Horses. I work with cutting and cow horses, and I have a really great 90-day program for starting green and unbroke horses. Like I said, right now, like, I got several 2-year-olds I got going, so I really like that. That's been working out well. We also do consignment and lessons and clinics and all that too. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.